We're back. So again, clearly we're still having connection issues for whatever reason. I guess it's because everybody's losing their mind today because it's inauguration day and all the keyboard warriors are out there tearing everything up. So once again, my apologies for the connection issues. The bandwidth is absolutely dog crap today. I don't know where it dropped. All I know is that we were going on talking about the Cardinals and the organization and the situation and all that stuff. We'll just move forward. We need to get this, shared back out over to the other page and get this thing rolling. But we'll just kind of sort of pick up where I thought that we had left off. And we'll just go from there. Basically, what I was getting at before I was so rudely interrupted with the awful, awful connection issues and continue to have connection issues. And what we're going to do is we're just going to shut everything down on these browsers. We're going to make sure that there's no other potential connection issues and no other problems. So my apologies to everybody that was putting anything in on the chat. What we're going to do is we're going to use the good old phone. And that's how we will operate this situation in this program. And we'll go back to the comments that were being brought up on the show. Brian said, did something happen to the live feed? Yeah, Brian, unfortunately, something did happen to the live feed. It's something I continue to work on. It's something I'm continuing to have issues with. A lot like the Cardinals and their roster, working on that. So we're going to continue to keep working on that. We're going to go back to the original post on this thing, and let's see here. Like I said, my apologies. I've got a jillion different posts, and I've got to dig through all of these different posts to make sure which one that I'm going to and which one that I'm looking at. Did I get fact checked in real time? No, possibly. Mark Zuckerberg might be behind his keyboard going, "That damn Derek King." You never know. You never know. They don't like it whenever I say certain particular types of things. You know how it goes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to our notifications. We're going to pull this up here real quick. We're going to try to see if I could pull up these last set of comments that we had. So bear with me on this because I want to make sure that I addressed all of them if I had lost them. Brian said that is why we need Bernie Miklasz. Yeah, no, we don't. GM Derek, obviously we brought that up. Bob the Builder, Handy Manny, and Jesus. 3 Carpenters I'd rather see playing third base for the Cardinals. I absolutely agree with that. I would rather see what was it? The Weekend at Bernie's guy. Just prop up that dead body over there at third. It would probably do a better job. I like Matt Carpenter. I really do. One of the nicest people around. But he's done. He's cashing in his paycheck. He knows he's not going to get another one. He's done. It's over. It's finished. And so I don't want to sit there and try to make something into something else that it's not, okay? The reality is he's finished and he's done. You're paying him how many $1 million? Like I said, I can't go back and check it because I'm scared to death we're going to end up losing the live feed again if I actually try to go and check anything on the internet because, I can't apparently do 2 things at one time. On my particular internet feed today because it's just going to be absolute garbage for whatever reason. And I guess it's because I want to have the highest quality, audio quality and video quality for you guys out there in this world that's watching it and listening to it. I don't want you to have to listen to hot garbage. So it's something, once again, I'll continue to work on. I'll keep trying to bring it down and keep trying to still have good quality product for you guys, but also not have to continue to drop feeds. So let's get back to this Cardinals news because I don't want to talk about that stuff. It just makes me aggravated to no end. But this Cardinals stuff, they're starting to listen to the fans. Believe it or not, they're starting to listen. When you have major sports outlets in the St. Louis market, even around the nation, that are now calling you out for your behavior and how it is that you're handling certain particular types of situation, you're not viewed as that stalwart organization anymore. You're almost somewhat viewed as a laughing stock. Hey, you want to get good players, you want to rip them off, go over there. They're desperate. They'll dump this guy off or that guy off because he's not producing fast enough, or he's this or he's that, or maybe he goes against the grain because he's got a little bit of a personality or whatever the case is. I want to point something out. And we're going to try this. But I want to point something out very specifically about the Cardinals. Outside of the Dodgers have replaced the Cardinals as the class in the NL, I agree. Dodgers are really good. They're looking good. I think the Padres are doing fantastic. The Mets are doing fantastic. They're all making good moves. But the one thing that I would really like to point out, and like I said, I'm not getting into a political debate about this. This is just an obvious view of how I'm seeing it. Outside of a very small handful of Dominican, Cuban, or of that background, and of the African American background. I mean, how many of those do you actually have? I mean, just look at their infield and their outfield right now. I'm not trying to make an obvious statement. I'm just saying that it doesn't look good. And especially if you have that star stud player who might be of African American descent, or who might be of Cuban descent, or of Dominican Republic descent, or any of these other things. Do you think they're going to want to come play for your team, especially if they have no compatriots that they could talk to or hang out with or do anything with? Probably not. Probably not. It's not looking good for the Cardinals. I don't want to cast stones, and I'm not making this a political statement, but just go to the Baseball Reference page and look at the pictures of their current roster. It's all guys that look like me. Where's the diversity? Where is it? You can't get players. They don't want to come here. Giancarlo Stanton completely blocked it. He didn't want to go here. He was still going to get his money. He was still going to get paid. Marcell Ozuna wanted to be here. You wouldn't give him the deal because you were pissed off. Why? Because he was lazy, or he wouldn't listen to you. He didn't do his off-season workout programs, whatever. Look at what he did last season. Tommy Pham, you ran him out of town. I understand. Tommy Pham's got a little bit of an attitude. He's got a little bit of a mouth. Obviously, he had a little bit of an altercation here in the offseason, got stabbed at a club and all this other stuff, but he still produces. He still puts out players. Jason's stepping in and saying that African-American baseball players are a rarity. It has been documented. Income differences to play the game make it tougher to participate, and that's true. Especially when they're looked at to where you could go over and you could play in the NBA. And let's say these guys, they're so talented. These players are so talented. They could play at any sport. They could play multiple sports. And you can go over to the NBA and you can make $100 million guaranteed, $85 million guaranteed, $150 million guaranteed, whatever, what have you. You can go over to the NFL and you can make, $30 million signing bonus, whatever the case is, whatever. I'm just throwing out numbers. Baseball clearly has a problem with getting minorities of African American descent to play in the game like they did in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, even in the 90s. I mean, where are those players? They don't want to play in Major League Baseball, not just for the monetary reasons alone, but for a multitude of other reasons. I've talked with a lot of former players. I know. Guys, there's things that you don't know. If you knew, it would make your head spin. It really would make your head spin. It really would. There's a lot of great talent there if money wasn't an issue. Basketball equals $10. Bat equals 500. Yeah. And you're starting up. You're talking about a kid in the inner city, doesn't have a lot of money. Their family doesn't have a lot of money. Maybe they live in project housing, which I don't even know if that's a thing, government housing now. Whatever the case is, they don't have a lot of income. They don't have a lot of money. There's basketball courts all over the place. How many baseball fields are there in the inner city? Not many. Not many at all. A lot of basketball courts. How many hockey rinks are there? No? No. How many golf courses? No? Nothing? Okay. What else is there? Not much. Well, Jason's bringing up a really good point. Cost availability, how much a basketball costs versus how much a bat costs, and a glove costs, and balls, and then a facility to do it in. It's tough. It's tough. It's hard. Whatever happened to the days with Deion Sanders, right? Whatever happened to those days? Bo Jackson. Remember him storming the outfield in Kansas City? Remember him in Chicago with the White Sox, wagging the finger? Oh, don't you run on me. Don't you run on me. Throws that guy out at first base with or third base with a laser. Yeah. And another thing, Brian Swope brought up in the comment section that there are ball fields that are just overgrown and they're not kept up, and that's a fact. Especially when they're ran by cities that have monetary constraints, it's hard to manage those fields. There's a lot more management that goes into a baseball field. Think about it. You have a basketball court. All you have are 2 backboards and a hoop and a post, and all the rest of it is a court, usually made out of concrete. There's not that much maintenance there. Also, Jason brings up another good point, the travel sports too. Travel sports, it's in those areas, in inner cities and stuff like that, you got to look at it from that standpoint. They just don't have a lot of travel sports. For me, I think it comes down to availability and money from a personal standpoint, but it also comes down to they don't feel like they belong. If you didn't feel like you belonged in something, or should I use my proper grammar in speaking terms, if you felt that you didn't belong in a certain niche or in a certain thing, would you feel like, oh, hey, I'm going to go do that? No, you would feel like, man, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to go there and just be the only person there that's doing this, or the only person of this descent, or the only person of this belief, or the only person of this. Like I said, I don't want to get into these big, deep political discussions. These are more social discussions than it is anything. But why aren't we seeing more minorities in baseball? This is what's killing baseball. If you look at football and what they've been doing, the NFL, they've been hemorrhaging the youth aspect of it, of how many kids are paying attention to football and playing football. It has drastically dropped. Drastically. Now, down in Texas, I love Texas. Texas is one of my favorite places. I love to visit Texas. I love to go to Texas. I got a lot of friends down in Texas. Love the area. Football down there is a religion. They may be God-fearing people down there, but they aren't just doing football or church on Sundays. They're doing football. They do football from Friday until Sunday night, Monday morning. Then they start all over again. Those people go to high school, they go to college, they go to pros. They do it all. They live it, they eat it, they breathe it. Where's that with baseball? Hockey is a particular niche, however you want to pronounce it. Particular type of people from a particular type of background play that particular type of game. Mostly in Canada. It is Canada's pastime. It's Canada's sport. Baseball was America's pastime and was America's sport. It's been superseded by football. Grossly superseded. Okay, baseball definitely preceded, but now football has taken over that realm, that crown, if you will. Jason says that it's not political or racial. Football is aggressive and appeals to those personality type. If anything, football is a real racial unity sport. You learn more life lessons in football very quickly. I don't necessarily 100% agree that football is a real racial unity sport. And why I put it that way is because I have seen things and heard things on a football field that I cannot and will not repeat to anybody for any reason. I've seen and heard some really nasty things. Okay, so it's not one of those, and that's where you have a lot of different minorities from different backgrounds and different areas and stuff that play in that game. They're just not. The media wants to put it out there that it's, we're fair and we're all about equality and all this other stuff, but the fact of the matter is if you look at the players who they exalt and who they put up on a pedestal versus the players that they don't, it's very clearly obvious. Right? Jason says not at the pro level. He said he can't repeat either, but other than that, to teach kids not to act like that. Well, yeah, absolutely. Anything, going forward in the future that we talk with our kids with sports, and we talk about unity, we talk about changing the narrative, we talk about doing things better for our kids so that way going into the future, our kids understand that type of behavior, no matter where you're from, no matter what your background is, who you are, what your political belief set is, and what your religious stance is on things. To treat another person less than human is wrong. And if you don't agree with me, well, then get out. I don't want to talk to you. Don't have nothing for you. If you treat another human being less than human, there's no conversation to be had. And I'm serious about that. I'm serious about that because I love everybody. I love all you guys out there and gals. Doesn't matter about your gender. It doesn't matter about your preferences. It doesn't matter about your history. It doesn't matter about your race. I don't care. I don't care. I treat people with the same amount of respect. I don't care. Because we deserve to love one another. We deserve to respect one another, and you deserve that back and forth. Now, if somebody doesn't want to show you respect, hey, man, I get it. Brother, I'm all about respect. But at the end of the day, I can honestly see why certain players wouldn't want to go to certain markets because of their backgrounds or because of the prejudices or because of money or because of these things. I get it. I understand why there's certain players that don't want to come into the Cardinals organization because of the way that the damn thing is ran. I get it. I'm not making an accusation of racism. I'm not making an accusation of anything. I'm making the accusation that, number one, the Cardinals don't want to pay. Okay? They want to get you on an arbitration deal. They want to get things cheap. They don't want to spend any money. Whatever the reasons are. Number two, they have a piss-poor ability to scout their own players in player development. Not that they have an issue with developing players. They are doing a horrible job at scouting players that they have in their own system. And at the end of the day, if you can't scout your own damn players, and what the hell are you doing? You need to reevaluate from every single aspect of what you're doing because you're screwing it up. Easily, by far. The fans aren't buying your BS anymore. They're not buying your, well, this is a process and you got to trust the process and all the BS that gets slung by the FO. They're in St. Louis coming out of Busch Stadium. We're tired of it. We're tired of hearing it. We're tired of your excuses. Start doing something. So that's my rant on the Cardinals organization and what they need to start doing. Once again, not accusations about them doing anything inappropriately wrong. We're not talking about the Mets situation, which we're going to get into here in just a hot second. And about that piece of garbage who I won't even name his name. That's how disgusted I am with the GM that they hired and then fired because he was sending inappropriate and lewd text messages to a female reporter that were unsolicited. Disgusting. I'll do it in 3 phases. Disgusting. Inappropriate. Period. End of discussion. Let me point out the reason of why. This guy, once again, I'm not naming his name because I'm so disgusted by him, I'm not naming his name. He's done this before, and he's going to do it again. He was going to do it again. People like that do that kind of stuff, they've done it before. And they've gotten away with it, and they continue to get away with it. And until you decide to pull your big boy pants up and do something about it, like Steve Cohen finally did, thank you, Steve Cohen, and fired that hot piece of garbage. Thank you. Thank you. Because that's the problem. This good old boy network BS has got to stop. If you want to change the narrative, if you want to change how things are viewed, if you really want to do that, you have to start dealing with these people that continue to do with what this GM did, which was absolutely unpardonable. Period. You just don't do it. I don't care what your excuse is. You don't do it. I'm disgusted by it, and it makes me sick by what that GM did and how he managed to get a GM position. Obviously, they did the right thing by firing his ass and shipping him on down the road because they needed to, because that is absolutely unacceptable. And that's my rant on that. Let's get back over to the comment section real quick. And we've got Thurman over there. I have a hard time seeing it from the angle that I'm at. But Thurman says, Mo's the Ben Stein of GMs. I don't disagree. Will pops in. You can tell the difference of mentality between the Cards and the Blues when Stillman said about spending near the cap because they're in a championship window and he wants to win. Abso-frickin-lutely. You want to look at the prototypical, perfect owner? Look at Tom Stillman. That guy walks the concourse. He talks to the fans. He shakes their hand. He goes around. I have met Tom Stillman. Salt of the earth. Wonderful guy. Couldn't be any better. He cares about the fans. He cares about putting a winning product on the ice every single year. He wants to compete. He wants to get Stanley Cups. He wants to win. It seems like the Cardinals are just happy just falling back asswards into the playoffs every single year. Look at their records. Look at their run differentials. Look at the statistics. I don't even want to get Ron Nuttall started on this because we all know how just absolutely insane he is with statistics. He really is. One of the best. Thurman says that the only thing Stillman needs to do is get Chaffetz on the phone. You know, that's a whole nother story for a different day. I mean, we'll get into that for another time. But if you look at Tom Stillman and you want to talk about somebody who's doing it the right way, who's going out and getting, the players, the Hoffmans, the Falks, all these other different types of players and bringing them in. I mean, what else better what else more could you ask for? Can you tell I'm a little hot today? Can you tell I'm a little worked up? I'm worked up and I'm hot for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, this ridiculous feed that I continue to have and that I continue to work on. But obviously, just everything that's going on in the sports world today. Jason says, so isn't the Central Division crap anyways? Why spend more money if they win the division anyway? And it's sarcasm. I thank you, Jason, for putting that in parentheses or in captions, because there's some people that wouldn't get that, but I get it. So I understand. But yeah, total sarcasm there, and it's true. Why spin it? Because you need to win. Because St. Louis fans expect perfection. We expect you to win. We expect you to go out, and we expect you to try. We don't expect you to win the Stanley Cup every year. We don't expect you to win the World Series every year. We don't expect you to win the Super Bowl every season, but we're behind you. The Cardinals need a St. Louis ownership group, not some real estate mogul from Cindy. I don't disagree. Brian, you're spot on. The Blues need to work on their power play right now, but Falk is proving critics wrong right now, though, from last year. I think he just had a lot of growth. Will brought that to our attention. There's a lot of growth that he needed. Coming into the organization, new guy, he's viewed at a certain particular way. There was a lot of growth that needed to be done there, and he's done that, and I think he's learned a lot. He's done a lot. So I'm excited about that. I don't know if you guys, we're gonna transition here real quick, and I know it's something that hasn't been talked about, and you guys should be excited about it, because everything that's happening right now with the MLS group and what's been going on in downtown St. Louis, right there off of Market, and that beautiful, beautiful privately funded building. I love saying that. Say it with me quietly. Privately funded. Ugh. I love it. Why can't we get a privately funded NFL stadium in downtown St. Louis? What's up with that? But Carolyn Kendall Betts, Taylor family, Jim Kavanaugh, everybody that's involved with the MLS movement there in St. Louis, we're super excited about it. We're super excited for this thing to start and get going. Obviously, we were really disappointed it got pushed out another year. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Understand it, get it, love it. Let's just keep on trucking forward, man. We're really excited to get that thing rolling. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'll be there for that first game. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, want to talk about a family that has done an absolute ton for the city of St. Louis and continues to do more to St. Louis, is the Taylor family. Can't say enough good things about them. Period. I don't have a bad thing to say about that crew at all. Would love to see him get involved in some more things, some more sports-oriented things. Football. But, we'll see. We'll see. Just things keep continuing to truck along downtown. Love to see the changes. Love to see the new buildings. Love to see that there's new infrastructure going in. Love to see all those things. One thing that I do want to address, and we talk about buildings, and we talk about sports buildings, sports venues, we talk about stadiums. This is a big one that I want to address. And this is a big topic of discussion right now. We really need to talk about this. It's the old Ed Jones Dome. The dome at America's Center now. There's a lot of people that think that is not a viable stadium, that it's not going to work, that there's no way an NFL team could play in it. We need to just write it off. We need to build a brand new, $1+ billion stadium, whatever. We need to build it in the county, whatever. Okay, yeah, maybe eventually. But there's no reason why that building cannot and should not work. If you think about it, when the Rams decided to go through arbitration, that was just a step in the process to get out of St. Louis. They wanted to get out of St. Louis. It was never about staying. That was it, period. We don't have to get down that rabbit hole. We've talked about that before in the past. But the one thing that I want to point out is it was a step in the process to get there. The $750+ million arbitration number that they came up with is ludicrous. That was only to put it in the top tier of stadiums in the league. That was it. You don't have to be in the top tier for another team. Let's do some hypotheticals for a second. Let's say a team wants to move to St. Louis, or let's say a team is navigated to move to St. Louis. Could be the Chargers, it could be the Jaguars, it could be somebody else. But let's think about that for a second. And let's play a little bit of hypothetical what if. You don't have to build a brand new stadium, a domed, retractable roof, $1+ billion stadium in the city or in the county. You don't have to do that. You could take $300 to $500 million and you could throw it at the Dome at America Center, and you would still have a very solid stadium. What's the one thing you would have to change? Well, the roof. That's the very first thing you need to change. You need to change some of the amenities. You need to change some of the other accents of the building. Let more natural light in. Maybe put in a little bit better seating arrangement. There's lots of things that you can change. There is an absolute ton that you could do with $300 to $500 million. You don't need no $750 million. Plus, let's go back in time. When that was done, when the Rams won that arbitration, the Rams, if the city said, okay, yeah, we'll give you that deal, the city was not going to get a new lease. The Rams were still going to have that same sorry-ass lease that they signed in 95 and amended in, 2002? It was still a horrible lease that they couldn't get out of. So no matter if they gave them the $750 million for the Ed Jones Dome upgrade, it wasn't going to keep the team here another 30 years. So they said, we got to go build another stadium to get them into a new lease in order to keep them here long term. That was the whole point around why they did what they did. Now you don't have to do that. If another team wants to come to the St. Louis market, like the Jaguars or like the Chargers, all they have to do is simply throw $300 to $500 million at the Dome. Upgrade it, fix it, change it, do whatever. You could still play in there. You could do it in the off-season times. The Battlehawks could still play in there whenever they come back with the XFL. Tune into the XFL to STL show every week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. XFL STL with your hosts, the Dirty One, Arlington A-Train Lane, along with Will Freeman and Mayhem Marcus. Go check them out. Over on Facebook. Go like their page. Fun stuff. But the XFL team can still play in there. You could still have an NFL team play in there. There's all these other things. You could still do it. It's easy to do. So let's jump back over to the comments real quick. Thurman says that you can't get a WrestleMania in there. A WrestleMania is not going to want to come to St. Louis, period. It just logistically does not work for them. They want it in a big, huge, massive hub city. St. Louis is not that. They want it in New York. They want it in New Orleans, which is a port city. They want it down in Florida where there's no state taxes. They want it in Texas where there's no state taxes. Dallas, so on and so forth. They want it out in California where there's massive population. They want it in New York where there's a massive population. And obviously we know how Vince McMahon has an absolute hard-on for the New York area. That's maybe Chicago because it's a big hub city. Toronto, again, big hub city. I would see them wanting things like that out in other areas. But this isn't a wrestling show. We're not talking about that. We're talking about sports, not sports entertainment. Jason says that the seats match the team colors. LOL. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. I'll give you that. But here's the thing. That's the common misnomer that continues to get spread with fans or so-called fans, people that are not really that in tune to the situation. They think that we need a new stadium. We don't need a new stadium. Thurman says that they need to build a new stadium south of the casino for the parking for tailgating, for better tailgating. I don't disagree. Eventually. Yeah, there definitely needs to be better tailgating. There's a lot of things they could do around that area, around the convention center. There's lots of things that they could change infrastructurally, that they need to change, that they needed to change for a long time. They haven't done it. There's lots of stuff that they could change in order to make that a more viable location, at least for now. At least for now. Because $300-500 million to invest back into the Dome to make it viable for another NFL team, to get them into a lease in order to keep them there, is a much more reasonable solution. When you talk about settlement, right? We go back to the lawsuit thing. If you were the NFL and you knew that your butt was over a barrel and said, okay, we're going to have to give St. Louis a team, whether that's an expansion team or a relocation, and you know you're going to be on the hook for a new stadium, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, hey, we'll give you $500 million to upgrade the Dome. We'll give you whatever. Let's just say 500. It's a nice round number. $500 million to upgrade the Dome. We'll give you an expansion team. We'll give you the old Rams Park training facilities back. They might even give you, $50 million to build a new one on top of that. Maybe $100 million, whatever. Would you turn that down? Would you turn that offer down? I know I wouldn't. If the NFL was willing to give me $500 million to upgrade the Dome and give you an expansion team and give you new practice facilities for way cheaper than what it would be to cost you to have a team relocate there and build a brand new stadium and all the other aspects that come along with it, or give you an expansion team with a brand new $1.5 billion stadium. I understand where people are coming at and why they feel like, hey, it should be this way. I get it, but Jason says, but what owner would be attracted to that? They speak in terms of exotic projects. They all do. They all speak in terms of exotic projects because they all want to make more money. Excuse me for a moment. But they all do. Jason says he would take that deal. I assume that's what you're saying by saying I would. Thurman also says, how much would it cost to put a retractable roof, if it even possible? It varies from place to place. But it would cost you an easy couple of $100 million, I think, to put a retractable roof on a stadium of that magnitude. Because you're ripping the whole top off and you're starting all over from basically scratch to build that roof. So that's what you would have. I think that it's a better deal. I think it's a better deal that's what gets done, because the city wants to keep an NFL team in the city. And if you want to keep a team in the city, that's how you do it. Where else are you going to build it? It just monetarily, it doesn't make any sense to go and spend. Easy return on investment, absolutely. Guys, gals, you got to think of all of this stuff in a business aspect. Put your business hat on. And think in the terms of dollars and cents. If you're running your own business, you want to run it as cheap as you can, so that way you can maximize your profit stream. That's exactly what they're trying to do. That's exactly what everybody else is trying to do. So that's what you have to do. Man, it's been a great show today. There's been a lot to talk about. That Cardinals that I had to bellyache and complain about. The Blues we talked about a little bit. MLS stuff. You guys want to talk about more MLS stuff, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk about more MLS stuff if you guys want to hear about it. There's lots of stuff daily that's happening with that. You want to talk about some other things, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to talk about it. Jason says, crazy fan base and under 750 million. It can happen. Absolutely, it can happen. Thurman says a Hollywood casino could have year-long concerts there. That's why they wanted to put the original Big Red Stadium out there in that Maryland Heights area right there in the corridor. They wanted to put that out of there. I mean, just look at the development process of what could potentially go out there. But I think you're better off like what we're talking about. 500, like Jason said, $750 million investment in infrastructure and stuff like that, which is pennies to the dollar in comparison to what they're spending to build stadiums for today. Look at what is now, and cost overruns cost the Rams and Stan Kroenke to build that palace out there in L.A. It has cost them almost triple what they anticipated. Remember when the numbers first came out, they said it was going to be $1.8 billion to build that facility. Then it quickly went to 2. Then they went to 2.5. Then it jumped to 3. And then it went up to 4. And then it went up to 5. And now it's up close to $6 billion. And he can't put a single butt in a seat to make any money back. It's still going to take them a year, 2 years potentially before they can even make any money. That's just got to just tear you up, doesn't it? That just hurts your feelings. Just make you feel bad for old Stanley. I know it does me. Not really. No. So let's take let's put a nice little bow on this thing, talking about the situation with the stadium in St. Louis. And we're going to do a much more thorough and in-depth piece. And I'll probably be writing that piece and putting it out on GatewayCitySports.com. I think that's probably what we'll end up doing, because there's so much information there that I have rattling around up here in this loose coconut that you guys could potentially just go, oh, wow, man, I've never really thought from it from that perspective. But I'll probably end up doing that. Imagine how much more he's going to hurt when the lawsuit's over. Yep. Brian, my man, it's going to hurt. I don't think people, like I said, I don't think people really understand, or they're like cautiously kind of tiptoeing around it, have a little bit of trepidation. They just don't think that it's going to get, no, I'm telling you guys, this is about as close to a slam dunk as a slam dunk is in a court case. The NFL has absolutely not a leg to stand on, and they know it. That's why they keep filing for injunctions. That's why they keep filing for extensions. That's why they keep doing everything that they're doing to slow the process down and drag it out, because they know they've lost. They're done. But like I said, let's put a nice little bow on this stadium deal. I think, personally speaking, the more financially solvable situation and the best situation for the city of St. Louis and the fans is a $500 million to $750 million, like Jason had said, potential settlement from the league to be able to put back into the stadium in a brand new practice facility and all these other different things, new infrastructure around the stadium, put a retractable roof on it, all of that good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Makes completely more sense. And then, guess what? In 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you want to go and build yourself a brand new facility out in the county or somewhere else, then by all means, go ahead and go do that. But for right now, I think that's the best case scenario for everybody involved and everything involved. By golly, we're just fixing all the world's problems just one issue at a time. Man, we should be in Congress. We should be solving the world's problems, shouldn't we? We just get it all done in a weekend, wouldn't we? Just all sit around and have a drink. Hey, let's talk, man. Let's talk. Let's get it done. Not these old, decrepit people who are sitting around going, oh, what are we voting on? They don't know. Will says, especially put that money to fix the parking areas around the dome. No kidding. They are awful. Poorly lit, unsafe. Awful, crumbling structures. They need to do something. All depends on who the mayor of St. Louis is. That's very true. That's very true. We've got a few people running, and we'll see what ends up happening with that. I think we've got some interesting candidates. We've got a couple of people who have ran before and people that have been in politics for quite a long time in the city of St. Louis. We've got a couple of fresh faces, some new people. We'll see. We'll see. It will be interesting to see how that pans out, because that will have an effect on where we go going forward. Because it's going to take new mindsets and a new approach, right, to be able to get this kind of a deal done. Because, as you all know, I miss my St. Louis Cardinals. I'd love to have them back, but the reality of the situation is they're not going to come back. You look at the Phoenix market and how big that is, generally speaking. on how much bigger it is in St. Louis by 15 spots, 10 spots, something like that. Somewhere between that range in TV market revenue dollars, just they would never move. Even once their contract comes up, Phoenix is too big. That market is too big. They make too much money. Yes, Kara Spencer is one of the people that is running for the mayoral seat in the city of St. Louis. Yes. There's obviously other people. Lewis Reed, Tashara Jones. I believe his name is Andrew Jones, if I'm not mistaken, has recently put his hat in the ring for the St. Louis mayor race. Now, to a lot of us, it doesn't really necessarily matter because we don't live in the city, but in order to have a city that is going to work with the NFL and get some stuff done, that's what we're going to need. We're going to need somebody who's going to work with them. Michael, in what he's referring to, Jason is referring to as Bidwell, is a better local owner than we've ever had charity-wise. Absolutely. Michael Bidwell came back to this community and gave thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to all of the charities that the Rams left hang in the lurch. There was one that was called the Rams Golden Circle or something or other like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called. The Golden Horns or something. They, sent a letter over to Michael and said, "Hey, we're in big trouble. We really had everything that our charity was built around, revolved around getting that money from the Rams every single year. They're gone. They're not giving us any more money. We're done. And so if we don't get any help, we're in big trouble." What did Michael Bidwell do? He said, "Where do I send the check? How much do you need?" Was there a great big huge report in Arizona? Was there a big presser put out by the organization? Did anybody make a big stink about it? No. Nobody really said hardly anything about it. But you want to know the one thing that they did do? They changed the name to honor the Big Red, honor the Cardinals, honor Michael Bidwell because of what he's done, even though the fact that they're not even in this market. That's a tremendous thing for him to do because he's not coming back to this market, and he knows he's not, but he still feels obligated from his hometown where he was born and raised to come back and do things to help the community. So it's good for him. Jack Dorsey could buy a team and move them there tomorrow. Well, yeah, Jack Dorsey's got just about as much money as anybody, but Jack Dorsey's kind of a douche nozzle, so I'll just leave it at that. I think people know how I feel about Jack Dorsey. I don't really have to get onto that about the same way I feel about Zuckerberg. So we'll just leave it at that for those two. I won't get too deep into that. But yeah, I think that we have literally solved all the world's problems this week. But trust me, I'm sure there will be more next week. But we're going to be back next week, and we're going to have another exciting, fun show. We're going to talk about all sorts of fun stuff. But make sure you stay tuned to GatewayCitySports.com. Make sure you go over to the Facebook, and you're following, you got the notification set up because we're putting stuff out almost every hour on the hour. Either, from day to day, we're putting out 1-2 articles. Great stuff from our writing staff over there. Always doing a fantastic job. Make sure that you tune in to Team of Rivals tomorrow night. Make sure you do that. Got Danny McLaughlin on there tomorrow night, where they're going to be talking a lot of Cardinal stuff, obviously, much to the dismay of Pete and potentially Elliot if he manages to find time to, be involved with the show. But they're going to be having a fun time on TOR tomorrow. Make sure that you tune into that. Other than that, make sure you go over, you follow In the Zone Network. You make sure that you go over and you check in with the guys over at XFL STL. You follow them. You turn on all your notifications for that because they're going to be having another show tonight. Will, you can correct me in the comments if you're still in there. And you could say, yay, we're having a show. Nay, we're not having a show, but you guys should be having a show tonight at 7 p.m. live and in living color. Because if I used my radio voice, I would say, tune in to the XFL STL show tonight, 7 p.m. on the XFL to STL fan page. So far there is a show tonight. So keep your fingers crossed. But that is it for this guy. I got a ton of work to do. I got a lot of website stuff to do. I got a lot of things to square up. Got a ton of news that's coming down the pike. Baseball news, football news. We've got, we're getting into the thick of it with the playoffs. We didn't even get to touch on any of that this week. I'm hoping to be able to touch a little bit more on that next week. But I would like to get a more of a format like this where we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about some football. We talked about some baseball. We talked about some hockey, maybe some MLS, sprinkle some NBA in there. I like a little bit of everything. That's what I like to see. So, guys, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've had a hell of a fun time. I hope you had too. Come on back next week, Wednesday, 9 a.m. We're going to do this again, just like we do every week. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. Make sure you get it out there, because this is Derek King from Derek King Sports Show, and I'm watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy. It's been great talking with you today. Love you. Take care.